There's a lot of talk these days about, the value of making, and I really believe in the value of making. On the other hand, if making is just following the directions to make something, that's not what we're interested in. Or if it's this very specific thing, I want you to design a bridge that will hold up to 100 pounds, and at the end we'll test and we'll put a weight on it, and we'll see when it breaks or not. Well, that's making, and there's good reasons for doing those activities, but that's not what we're so excited about. We really want to let kids be able to take their imagination and start experimentally exploring with materials, to start tinkering with materials, try things out, to test the limits, to experiment with what's possible, because we think that's where the most innovative things will happen. So it's not just learning the technique of making, but a certain type of process of making through tinkering, of where you're always exploring, experimenting, trying out new possibilities.
So tinkering is an important part, I think, of learning, both about learning in science, but about learning in general. And there's sort of two roles here. One of the things with tinkering is you actually get to play with materials, learn how things work together. How do metals work? How do things work? How do they connect with each other? How can I make this thing work with that? So there's something about the properties of the material world that you learn by physical manipulation. But it's also important because you're constantly asking questions. What would happen if I do this? Can this happen? Can I make this happen? That kind of exploration is fundamentally deeply about features about science, about other kinds of learning about the world. You're asking questions, and then you're seeing what will happen to validate your question or to invalidate your question. That kind of process of critical thinking is important in many, many endeavors in the world. And so critical thinking development happens very strongly in a tinkering environment. That's why I think tinkering is so important, so fundamental, and not just about fun. It's actually deeply about developing your critical thinking skill.
When you design things for kids to do, you are designing for the irrational self to take joy from the rational elements of the world.